Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio with your host, Billy Willard, and the Blog Squatcher. Strap in, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down.
Hello, everyone. Today is Monday, November 3rd, 2008. Welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Glad everyone could make it here tonight. We have a wonderful guest on with us tonight, which will be Stan Courtney from Illinois. He sent me some sound clips that we can all listen to and discuss, and certainly we welcome everyone to ask questions and maybe even call in and ask Stan some questions. The call-in number tonight is area code 347-237-5070. Again, that's 347-237-5070. And before we get Stan on the line with us tonight, I had a few items that I wanted to mention. By the way, our fine co-host, Mr. D.B. Donlin, may not make it tonight. He had some things come up to where he couldn't make it. If he does make it, he may be late, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, D.B., I know you'll listen to the archive. We miss you, buddy. One thing that I wanted to quickly mention tonight was I got an email from a fellow, from one of our listeners who had been listening to last week's show, and he was speaking about the caller who called in towards the end of the show from the 209 area code, the fellow from Marin County, California. He would like to get in contact with him because apparently he lives near the area. So if that caller is listening from the 209 area code from Marin County, California, he would, if you could send me some information where he could get in contact with you, I would certainly be obliged to do so. You can email me at sasquatchwatchradio@yahoo.com. And that would be fine, and you could just give me some info where he can get a hold of you, whether it be an email address, a phone number, or whatever. I'd be more than happy to line you up with this fella. His name is Randy, so got that out of the way. Also, I had talked with Tom Shirley over the weekend, and he just wanted me to tell everyone that he's okay. And just to tell everybody hello for him. So I got that covered. So got that all out of the way. So since that's out of the way, no further ado, we'll bring on our great guest tonight, Mr. Stan Courtney. How are you doing tonight, Stan?
I'm doing great. How are you, Billy?
I'm doing just fine. It's great to hear your voice. I guess are you at home or are you on the road?
No, I'm in Louisiana.
You're in Louisiana. Is that another one
Yeah.
of your stops, your 48 and 08?
No, I'm delivering a motorhome in Alabama in the morning, and I'm on my way to Alabama.
Oh, okay. I know. So how many more states do you got? For anybody that don't know, just Stan, just quickly tell everybody about the project you got going on this year called 48 and 08.
Well, I retired a year ago, and I came up with this idea that I wanted to get to every state and do a little podcast on each state, and to make it legit and everything, I wanted to go out with a local researcher. And I've not gotten as far as I would like to. I've only done 14 so far, but I decided there was no reason to run through it real fast. And I work part-time delivering motorhomes nationwide, and I tow my car, and then it gets me to all these great squatching places on the way back. And I've got a lot of people signed up. Not every state's been covered yet or signed up for, but a lot of them have.
Right. Well, that's great. That's great. I hope you keep up the good work. I have listened to a lot of your sound clips, you know, when you interview the folks that you're visiting and everything, and I enjoy listening to them. So keep up the good work on that. It's really fun, actually.
Oh, it's you know, you get out and you meet there's just a lot of great researchers out there, and they're all wanting to share their local areas and what's been going on, and it's just enjoyable. It's just a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's great. It really is. Since this is a new show, so to speak, Stan, and for we do have some new listeners here that I don't remember seeing in the Sasquatch, actually the Squatch Detective show that I was co-hosting with. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what gets you started in this.
Actually, I had I won't call it a bee encounter, but a close to a bee encounter back in 1967 in Oregon. And at the time, I thought these animals were rare. And I ended up back in Central Illinois and worked in the medical field for almost 40 years. And because of documentaries on TV, I got interested, and it's when the BFRO were first doing their expeditions, and went on one of those and was shocked and alarmed by what had gone on, and I've been hooked ever since.
Okay, very good. So Illinois is not your home state, I take it?
No, I was born and raised in Idaho.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Very good. Now, just for those who don't know, Stan was nice enough to send me about 6 sound clips, and it looks like, Stan, this is all stuff that you've done very recently. I guess starting from May of this year, and the latest one I think I saw here was September of this year.
Right. They're not. You know, it's always difficult because they're. You know, when Ron Moorhead got those Sierra tapes, he set a very high standard for us to try to come up to.
Right.
And it's very, very difficult to get recordings. And these animals, they can be very quiet, especially if they're coming to your camp. They're very stealthy. So it's a few. I've got a few real unusual sounds in there, and I think a couple unique ones.
Right.
I don't say that they're Bigfoot sounds because obviously I did not see the animal. I did not videotape the animal as the sounds were going on, but there's other circumstances that have led me to believe that they're related.
Right. Yeah, I know one thing that I've heard a few researchers here along the East Coast say is that it seems as if these creatures seem to be not as vocal on the East Coast as they may be out like on the West Coast. I wonder why that is. I've always wondered why they're just not as vocal here.
I think perhaps it's because the amount of people per square mile is so much higher in the East, and they're used to dealing with a large human population. And you go out west, it could be 100 miles to the next human, and they're not leery of making sounds.
Wow.
That's what my opinion is.
Well, it's a good possibility. You're right. There's a lot of wilderness out in that direction. So we don't have near we have some pretty good areas around here, but not near the vast areas that they have there on the west. Some of those areas. So. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Stan, what we'll do if you want to is we'll start out. You just let me know which recording you'd like to start out with, and I've got them all lined up here on the soundboard thanks to Mr. D.B. Donlin who put them up for me today. And,
right. He told me he had them. I'm without electricity here, so my computer's off, but I think the first one in there is in May.
Yeah, May 18th, 2008.
Right. Now, what this was, and I'm kind of proud of this because, you know, everybody talks about a Squatch is what great mimics they are.
Right.
And I have become astounded at what their abilities are, or what I think their abilities are. And I had a fellow by the name of, on the forum he goes by Bob in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he was going to be in the St. Louis area, and he contacted me, so I took him to my research area. And at night, I don't go alone at night because it's not safe because of the mountain lions. But anyway, we spent a couple hours in the park, didn't see or hear a thing, and so I used a bullhorn with just my voice. Did it in one area, didn't hear anything. We drove a couple miles and did it again. And I did this 3 times. And the second time, after 45 seconds, we heard this voice coming from the woods. And it sounded close to a half mile away.
Right.
And Bob was never convinced that it was anything other than a human.
Right.
What I've been told by others, because you hear your voice differently than other people do, but what a lot of people say, and what Bob said, you may hear it on the recording, he says, Stan, that's your voice.
Okay.
And I put it on a sound analyzer, and when I did my yell through the megaphone, it was 645.9 hertz. And when I checked the first return call, it was 645.9 hertz. It was exactly.
Right.
And I was just astounded because people say they've heard people saying these things can imitate. And as far as I know, this is the only recording of, well, other than the Sierra sounds where they're going back and forth.
Right.
So he's talking to it and it's answering him. This is the only other recording I know of where perhaps one was recorded imitating a human. And it was just like a Rich Little was out there in the woods talking back at us. I was shocked.
Wow.
And I was ready to leave after that happened. So.
All right. Well, I guess you've kind of given us an introduction to that. So if you want to, we'll go ahead and play it. For anyone who wants to call in, we're going to play this audio. Anyone that wants to call in and has any questions, or maybe somebody out there says, hey, I know what that is. I know what that sound is. Call in and give us your opinion. 347-237-5070. I'm going to go ahead and play this first clip. Now, I'm going to play it at 50%. And if anyone thinks it needs to be a little bit louder, just let me know after the clip is over and we can replay it. But for right now, we'll do it at 50%. So you ready, Stan?
Sure.
Okay, here we go.
What's that? Billy, that's the wrong one.
That's the wrong one?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's not the one in May.
Yeah, he's got it listed as that.
Uh-oh. Well, okay, then just leave this one up, and we'll do each one. You can play the sound for me, and then I'll talk about it. Now,
okay.
this one we're going to listen to it's just unbelievable. It's just amazing. There was it was one of my states. It was Illinois, and it's a fellow that lives in Southern Illinois.
Okay.
He has, over the last 2 years, he has seen 6 different animals.
Okay.
And they come up around his house. They look in his windows. I've been there. I've seen at least 2 different set of footprints real close to his house.
Right.
And what they do is they come up and they sit in the brush that's behind his house and watch him.
Okay.
And anyway, I was there. There was another fellow there and his family. So there was about 8 of us outside when we heard this sound. And the question on this is, we had reason to think it was a Squatch, but we didn't see it.
Okay.
But if you can go ahead and play it, and then you can try to guess what if it is a Squatch and it's imitating something, what is that sound that it's imitating?
All right, here we go. We'll play it. We'll play it the full thing. Here we go.
Okay. What's that? What's that? Fireworks?
I guess.
What do you think that was?
I'm hoping it was a noisemaker. I thought it was you guys.
That was weird. I got it recorded.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
But we didn't see any. We didn't see any fireworks exploding.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I was hearing pops once in a while, faint ones, but not that. They weren't shooting them that close, though.
All right. That was definitely interesting. It almost sounded like, I don't know what that sounded like.
I think I know what it is. I think I know what it was imitating. Here's what happened. That was, I think that was recording was made on the 12th of July.
Okay.
A month later, the witness goes out in his backyard, and he hears a whirring kind of a sound, and he said he thought it sounded like a weed eater. Now this is in the middle of the night, and he looks down by the shed, and he sees an adult female.
Really?
And she's making the sound.
And he saw this.
He saw the female, and he saw her making a sound that was kind of a whirring sound that he thought it sounded like a weed eater. I've played this for as many people as will bear with me, and one of the guys said when he first listened to it, he says, it sounds like somebody's trying to start a weed eater. It's got that little squeak at the end. So I'm thinking not only did she learn how to make it sound like she was starting it, but she can run it afterwards.
Oh, that's funny.
So I don't know. You know, there's been in Colorado. There's reports of them imitating semi trucks,
right?
Trains. You know, human voices. You name it, they can imitate it. And I'm not going to say that every time that somebody hears something they don't know what it is. That doesn't mean it's a Squatch.
Right.
But they certainly. I mean, this is a sound I never heard before, and hearing it live, it was big.
Right.
I mean, we did not walk towards it. It was dark, and it was big. What was ever making it, and it was strange.
Right. Yeah, that was definitely. I'd never recorded anything like that, so I don't know what it was. But if anyone out there has any ideas or any guesses on what they think it is, you can call in. The number is 347-237-5070, and so you recorded that. You had I heard, I guess, at least one other person with you, right?
Well, there was 8 of us there.
Oh, okay.
There was 8 people heard it. Right.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. Interesting. Now, what we'll do is, since these are all messed up, do you just want me to play the next clip and then talk about it?
Right.
All right. So what we'll do is we don't have any callers yet. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and play this second clip, and then after we've listened to the second clip, then we can have Stan tell us the story behind that one. So here we go.
Okay.
By the way, Stan, real quick, Steve Willis says, keep up the good work.
Okay, thanks. This clip was on a BFRO expedition this summer in August in Colorado.
Okay.
And I got I got there before the expedition started, and the first night, it's kind of unusual, and it was really interesting what happened. There are large flocks of sheep with shepherds in the mountains in Colorado in the summer. And these shepherds are from Peru. And they don't speak Spanish. They don't speak English. They only speak their native Indian language of wherever they're from in Peru.
Right.
So we couldn't talk to them about it. But they had like Fort Great Pyrenees dogs to protect these flocks, and the flocks were there's probably 800-900 sheep.
Right.
And the first night I got there before the expedition started, I recorded something that sounded like howls, and it lasted for 2 or 3 minutes, getting closer and closer to the sheep.
Right.
This particular recording, I don't think that was recorded by me. It was one of the other fellows. And 2 nights in a row, what would happen is whatever most of the people in the group heard this sound. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. It was or 5 o'clock. It was just before daybreak.
Right.
And what it sounded like was something imitating dogs. Because as soon as this woof, 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 woof would go off, then the sheep would go wild and the Great Pyrenees would go wild.
Right.
And that happened about 3 nights, and the final night in which this one was recorded, the sheep had come almost in our camp. They were on the hillside right beside us, so we knew we were going to get some activity. And
right.
Earlier in the evening, they had a sighting with a thermal unit. There was a major rock throwing incident, and that was the night that I got my some kind of a giant hand hit the back of my car. But, So that's what that audio was we think it was imitating dogs barking, and I think what they were doing is they would make there's 4 Great Pyrenees.
Right.
Well, they're pretty big, but they can't guard 900 sheep at once.
Right.
So our idea was they would set up a commotion on one side of the hillside and get the dogs over there, and then somebody would run around in behind and
right.
grab a dog.
Right.
Grab a sheep. So
that's another interesting one too. I saw a lot of comments in the chat that was
the problem is that we always have equipment failures, and I had trouble keeping my batteries charged up and going, and so we are always trying to get better recordings, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. Right.
Now, Dan R. from the chat room wants to know if you can tell us about what part of Colorado that was in.
It was I think it was in Central. It was just west of Denver.
Okay. All right, very good. Looks like we got a caller on the line. I think I know who this is. I believe we have Mr. Bill Green on the line.
How you doing, Billy and Stan?
Hey, Bill.
Yeah, Stan, I'd like to ask you, are you currently investigating new sightings in the U.S. or Canada?
I've got a couple I'm working on. Nothing real exciting at the moment, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw there was an interesting report from Canada, I think it was, where a woman saw the creature twice or something, or multiple times or something like that. And
seems to be a lot of activity in Canada right now. I've been hearing about a lot of stuff going on up there. So that's pretty interesting. I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if you've noticed this, Stan, in your area, but around here in Virginia, we've noticed that the fruits and the nuts and stuff, like the walnuts, we have them in abundance this year. I'm talking huge walnuts.
Oh, really?
Bigger than I've seen them in a long time.
Ken, I got one more question. Have you noticed any new reports or footprints near the Boggy Creek area around Falk or Arkansas or?
You know, I've been through there, but I haven't stopped in that area. I've already done Louisiana. I did Louisiana, and that was near Baton Rouge. And I tell you, I'm just amazed that these animals are so widespread. And one thing I'm doing on these trips is once I drop off the motorhome, then I'm free to do what I want. So I'm in my little car. So on the way home, I'm picking out all these campgrounds that are close to the interstate that I can sleep in and record. And there is a new report on the BFRO website just for the new reports out in Arizona of a guy this past summer that had his camper shaken. I know of 2 instances in Arizona where that's happened, and I want to go to that spot, and I guess I'm up to having my car shaken. I don't know, but
yeah. Yeah, it was Billy and Stan. I was watching CNN. I'll just mention this briefly. And at 5 o'clock this morning, and boy, what a thing to wake up to. The Georgia guys were on there talking to some people about their hoax. Speechless.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh, yeah. They're always up to their same tricks.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Bill, for calling in and asking.
Okay, great show,
Thanks,
and
Bill.
those sounds are interesting.
Thanks a lot, Bill.
Bye.
All right, and I think the next caller we got on the line, I think, is probably Henry May.
Can y'all hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Hey, Henry.
Okay, good. Hey, Stan, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Looks like you're in my neck of the woods, right next door.
Yeah, I'm just across from Mississippi.
Yeah, cool. I wanted to ask you, Stan, I wanted to ask you, this is something that I've been interested in. What role does acoustics play in a recording? As far as let's say there's a vocalization, it bounces off a building or bounces off a tree or something like that.
Oh, I hadn't really thought too much about that. Well, it does play a factor because this last recording was not very close. It was over a hill. And I think it does play a role.
Yeah, I can see where it would.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're never as close as we'd like them.
Yeah, they won't come and pick up the mic and just speak to us through it, you know.
No.
That would be nice. Any more questions?
As far as echo, what is echo? What factor does echo play in recordings or getting a high quality recording?
Well, you know, I have recorded that, and at my home, any loud sound in my creek bottom, I get echoes. So it's evident too. I mean, it's out there.
Yeah.
So, you know, if the sound's far away, it's not going to have the same effect as if it was real close to you. So I just haven't got anything recently that I've had an echo in.
Wow. Yep. Well, anyway, thanks, Dan. Thanks very much. I really appreciate, you answering my questions. And this is this is a great show, of course, as always, Billy. Always enjoy listening to your show.
Thank you, Henry.
Yeah. All right, later, guys.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. Let me move this around here. Give the call-out number one more time, 347-237-5070. Don't be shy. Stan doesn't bite. At least I don't think he does. You don't bite, do you, Stan?
No.
Okay. All right, and we should be good then. Oh, good gosh, here they come. The calls are rolling in now. Caller from the 812 area code. You're on the air with Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Hello, this is Rick Osmond. How y'all doing?
Good, Rick. How are you?
Good.
Pretty good. Stan, if you're headed to Alabama, get up on the north side of Talladega National Forest, and it's there. Been some activity there lately.
Oh, really?
Uh-oh,
Just,
Stan, you've got an invitation, Stan.
Yeah, Stan, do you have email on the road there?
Yeah. You know, something we forgot to mention, Billy, is a lot of people don't even realize I have a website, and it's just my name. It's just stancourtney.com, and my email address is stancourtney@hotmail.com.
Okay. Well, I'll send you an email with a contact, and maybe you can hook up.
Right. Oh, that's great.
All righty. Just
All right.
just tip of the day.
Thanks a lot, Rick.
All right. Talk to y'all later.
All right.
Okay.
All right, and we got another caller from the, let's see here. Let me see if I can get this caller on. Caller from the 352 area code. You're on the air with Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Woohoo! Hey, Billy, it's Dan from Florida.
Hey, Dan, how you doing tonight?
All right. I just had a question for Stan. Well, two questions for Stan there.
Okay.
One, during his travels there, especially with the people in southern Illinois there, did they report any livestock missing, and did there seem to be a favorite type of livestock, like rabbits or chickens or
That they prey on?
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you what is I don't know about Illinois. I know places where people would have 15, 20 rabbit hutches, and the Squatches won't touch them because they know if they bother them that they're going to get investigated. But I do have acquaintances in Colorado that they know a couple that raises goats, and this last year I think they lost 30 to 35 young goats, and they had DNR out, and they were able to substantiate a couple mountain lion kills, but they said all the rest were not, and they didn't know what it was. So I think that they like, well, I'm assuming they like sheep, and I think they probably like goats.
You know,
it's kind of like a family style. You know, a nice sheep or a goat would feed a family for a night.
I always heard just the opposite. Their favorite food is rabbits and chickens, and they would just literally walk right past the goat to get the rabbits and chickens. But I want to hear another take on it. I've heard takes that they love goats. I just wanted to, see what you heard this year.
Yeah, I really haven't heard much except about those people losing a lot of goats in Colorado.
All right, that's it. That was my question. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Bill. Bye.
All right, now I think we have I want to say this is a caller from, it's probably a Skype account. You're on the air with Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Hey, Bill Will, it's the Creature Seeker.
What's going on, Bruce?
Hey, Stan, I just want to tell you, if you find yourself in Boston and you see a hand on your car, you better hit the gas because it means you're about to get carjacked.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's just a little tip from the Creature Seeker. Take it for what it's worth. I had a question. It seems that there's a lot of predation on these farm animals, goats, sheep, or whatever. Is there ever any organized sort of surveillance on, if you know that you're losing 35 goats here, does anyone ever kind of say, all right, I'm going to get to the bottom of this and stay up or set up cameras or anything like that?
I've not heard of that. I mean, that would be the obvious thing because they'll stay away from cameras and they'd stay away from the livestock. But
well, it just seems to me that that's a lot of livestock to go missing, and
right.
It seems like that's an area that's some hot activity there, and whether that's a normal animal like a wolf or a mountain lion, or if it's something else, it seems like there'd be an area that's just begging to be investigated.
Right. Well, I think there is a lot of stuff out there, except that there's not many people that have the time to put in the effort to do it. Everybody's busy with jobs.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a lot of it.
And also, just referring to those sounds, it seems like we have these recordings of sounds that come up, but does anyone ever try to investigate, either maybe not, while they're happening, because I can understand that's a little unsettling, but the next day trying to go out and trying to locate the area where those sounds came from, maybe seeing if there was some evidence that those sounds didn't come from, a normal animal?
Right. The truly the only true value of a sound is if it's sufficient quality where it can be looked at on a sound analysis software. And we have very, very few sounds that's been able to do it, because most of them are very, very poor quality. They're just not up close enough.
It makes it hard.
Have any of those sounds ever been analyzed and determined that, they were a sound that could not have been made by a human or a bobcat or something?
Right. Most of my sounds, in fact, all of my sounds, I send to D.B. Donlin, and I know he did a lot of work on the Illinois howl that I recorded, and comparing it to wolf, dog, coyote, and I don't understand all his technical jargon, but it had to do with common harmonics, and whatever the Illinois howl is, what he can say is that it's not coyote. It's not coyote, dog, or wolf. It doesn't match. It's something that may be a common multiple, but it doesn't match what a coyote does.
Well,
so we're kind of left with sounds in the same place we're left with possible hair or even footprints. The footprints, as far as I'm concerned, the only positive set of footprints ever made was off the Patterson film. That's the only ones that were ever filmed making it.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've just heard scattered reports coming out of Colorado, because Colorado is a sort of a destination for backpackers and adventure seekers, but it seems like there would be more sightings in a place like that than there would be, say out in New England somewhere, because of the number of people who are out there. And I mean, what's your take on that, Stan? Are they not as numerous in Colorado, or?
Well, I don't know a lot about Colorado, because I've got one campground that I made the mistake of not putting my recorder out, and that's a horrible, horrible mistake, and it won't happen again. But I was next to a river, and the wind was blowing. I didn't put it out. And at 5 minutes to midnight, I woke up, and I told my wife something's going on. And about 20 seconds later, you've heard of the Tahoe scream.
Yes.
I heard this scream. The scream went on for about 20 seconds. There was a 30-second delay, and it did it again. It did it 6 times. And the second time I heard that, I told my wife, I said, "My God, that's the Tahoe scream." and I wasn't prepared for it. I had some communication with the Forest Service. They did answer me back with an email that shows you that maybe they do know something in that area. And they said, well, it was probably just a mink, because mink scream. And so one of the recordings is from the same campground that I did hear the Tahoe scream and didn't get it recorded. But I've been to that place, I think, 6 times this year. I'm going to get that scream recorded yet.
And Stan,
so I'm not in Colorado, so I don't know a lot about it, except I know there is activity there. And I just think when people hear or see things, they don't report them.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. But when you heard that scream, did you ever? I mean, did you have, did you want to go out and find out where it came from and try to?
Well, I was not frightened. In fact, I got up and got my recorder ready and went outside the motorhome and set it up. And I didn't have any fear or anything. And you look around the next day and, we're this little river has, I don't know what they're called, all those, I guess, willows and stuff. So it's very, very difficult to navigate through. It's great moose country. And, I hear sounds at home, and I go down there and I can't find what's making them,
Well, let me just, a friend of mine used to raise minks. That was his business.
Oh, right.
And a mink that could scream like that, pretty much, I don't want to have anything to do with, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I talked to a lady that raises mink, and I played the Tahoe scream for her, and she says it's not it. She says it's definitely not that.
Just a real quick mention to the other callers. I will get to you, so you guys just hold on.
Yeah, I'll get off the phone so you can get to the other callers. But thanks for your time, Stan.
Sure.
Bill,
thanks
great
for calling,
show.
Bruce. All right, let me get to these other callers. We got a caller, 936 area code. You're on the air with Sasquatch Watch Radio.
How you doing, Billy?
Good.
You know who this is?
Sounds like Ron.
It's Smiter.
Smiter. You sound like Ron out of Tennessee.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right.
I was gonna ask Stan if he would speculate on the intelligence level of these hairy folks out in the woods for us.
Well, I tell you, I had an experience. I tend to repeat myself, but probably everybody hasn't heard this story. A couple years ago, I lost I did something silly. I tied my GPS unit to my dog's collar so I could see how far she went when I was in the woods that day. And I walked a mile, and she came up to me, and it was getting a little loose, and I just left it, and a minute later she came back and it was gone. And I thought, well, I don't have time to look, but I'll find it. 6 weeks later, it turned up. My friend found it up near where we parked the cars. It was a mile away.
Oh.
It was still in the pouch, still unopened, but it had been dropped right in the middle of the trail. We both had walked that trail 6 times since that had happened. That really shook me up because, like my wife says, I asked my wife, because she says she's a realist, and I said, what do you think? And she says, well, I tell you what, if a human had found the GPS, they wouldn't have brought it back to you.
Yep.
And that just shows some type of benevolence that I've never known before. And the same fellow that original sound clip we played that I think is maybe a weed eater, his wife got her car stuck in the snow 2 years ago, but it was turned around. It was flipped around in the road. So she went to the house to get the husband, and they went back 20 minutes later. They got down there, and she says, I thought you said the car was the other way. The car had been turned around in the road.
Wow.
Now, who knows what did that?
Right.
But it doesn't sound like a normal human behavior.
Right.
Well, the reason I ask is because obviously these primates, I'll just call them that, have a greater intelligence than most people give them credit for. Just going back 41 years since Patterson Gimlin got their film recorded, There hasn't been any real good film footage since, and there's been no more real advancement in evidence that's been put forth. So it would take a primate of considerable intelligence to avoid man and all the traps that we've got available now with the technology we have. Is what I'm getting.
Well, I'll tell you what happened to me in September. I went out with a group of people on the Olympic Peninsula, and earlier that summer there had been 4 daylight sightings at this location. And there's an animal can walk wherever they want, but there was a kind of a beaten down path, and they said it had been seen by 2 people walking across the road at the same spot. So I go down there just before dark, and I turn around and look behind me, and there's a car coming. So I go ahead and I walk around the corner. I thought, I don't want to walk any further. Turn around to come back. A girl's running around down the road. I said, what are you doing? And she says, we saw a Sasquatch walk across the road, and when we looked down to get our camera and look back up, you're walking towards us. That thing had watched me turn the corner and then walked across the road. So you just wonder how many times that happens to us, that we're out in the woods somewhere, and they let us go by, and then they cross the trail, and they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah, they have the perfect camouflage built in the form of hair and different skin colors, so they could stand perfectly still next to a tree that's basically the same color as their hair, and you'd never see them.
I know a guy that watched one for 20 minutes from about 150 feet, and he couldn't figure out whether it was a tree or not. And he watched it, and when a car went by, he could watch it turn its head and watch that car. And when it wanted to swat at a fly, it just moved its hand up real slowly and brought it down real slowly. And there was 2 squatches, and when the other one moved and he looked back, it was gone. So it was just waiting for him to turn his head till he could leave.
So
I just think they're unbelievable.
So if you had to put a human intelligence level on them, what age level of intelligence would you put on them?
I think they're probably smarter than the average Bigfoot researcher.
Okay, I would agree with that. When I first started doing this earlier this year, I put an age between 12 and 15-year-old human intelligence on them, and then I went from there. And I've made some really interesting progress in my research.
I think that a lot of things that they do remind me of teenage boys. I mean, why do they reach out and hit my car in the middle of the night? They in that Colorado trip, that happened to 3 of us in the same night. Now, when that hand reached out and hit my car, it was like I was 3 years old. There was no way I was going to sit up and look. My wife said, "You've been wanting that Class A. You had your chance." And I said, "I couldn't do it. I just couldn't lift up and look."
Right.
So they do a lot of things that remind me of teenage kids. Why do they get on houses? Why do they walk around on roofs? Why do they slap on motorhomes or rock trailers? I think they're just having fun. We're their entertainment.
Right, exactly. Callers, keep hanging on the line. I will get to you.
Hey, I'll just say this real quickly. There's a lot of similarities or identical behavior between the Bigfoot here and the Yowie in Australia. And the Yowie in Australia seems to be more brazen. I'm guessing because it's more acclimated to humans, because there's a lot of Aborigine tribes that still live out in the wild the old ways. So they would be around the Aborigine more than they would people here in this country. The Native Americans don't live the old ways much anymore that I know of. But I'm going to put the link to a witness report in Australia where 3 of them surrounded his car, and it was almost like they were trying to figure a way out to get him out of the car. And they eventually left.
I don't want to hear that story.
rather humorous. They didn't do anything aggressive. They just walked around the car from left to right side around the back. They avoided the headlights, and one of them stuck their hand out next to the driver's side window, which is on the right side in Australia, and he was freaking out the whole time. But he described all 3 of them as being some somewhere between 7 and 8 feet tall, hair covered and black in color, and they were just walking around. I think they were trying to figure out how to get him out of that car, so like you say, they could have fun with the little human that was so scared.
Yeah. Right.
And he laid on his air horns, and they ran off into the bush, and he didn't see him anymore. But it scared the bejesus out of him to have 3 of them walking around his car like that.
Right.
Okay, I'll let somebody else take over at this point. I just wanted to see if anybody had thought about the intelligence level of these primates besides myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for calling in, Smiter.
Thank you.
Real quick, while I'm getting ready to get the other caller on, Jordan Warner in the chat room wanted to know: do you think the recordings you have are similar to the recording howl from Ohio on the BFRO site?
You know, I do have a couple. I have heard the Ohio howl, but I don't have one of that kind of quality that's on the BFRO. I've only just a distant one.
Okay. Caller from the area code 540. You're on the air with Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Hey, Billy, Stan. This is Steve Willis.
Hey, Steve.
Hey. Hey, a little anecdotal thing here about camper shaking. That happened to me in 2005 when I was up in British Columbia. It shook. It was just one shake, and it was hard enough that it was more force used against it than when I had a car back into the camper.
Huh.
Wow.
So what I wanted to know, Stan, was are you still having to, whenever you record overnight, are you still having to listen to your recordings in real time, or have you got a computer program that searches for noise spikes?
No, I've never listened to them live. I've always put them on sound analysis where you can see them.
Okay.
You know, and then you peek out, and then you find the peaks. So I can go through 8 hours in maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, there's another guy named Tom Rue. He's out of St. Louis, and
right.
I think
Right.
still listen to his in real time.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Right. Well, he. Okay, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
All right.
Okay.
And then we got one more caller. Let's see here if I can get them on the air here. We got one more caller from the 831 area code. You're on the air live.
How you doing? This is Richie from California.
Hey, Richie. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Hi.
Good.
How you doing, Stan?
Great. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to ask you if you've ever heard a kind of a sirening, real like it sounds almost like. Have you ever heard of shadowfolk.com?
Heard of what?
Shadowfolk.com. They have audio recordings.
Right.
They're Project 3. It's like the second to the last one down. It sounds like a sirening howl.
Well, you know, one of the individuals on there, some of their recordings are on my website.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's the same.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know they make siren-like sounds, and I think they're attracted by sirens.
Well, the weird thing is, I took Mike Ruggs and Daniel Perez up to a place where I'd found some tracks a year ago, and he wanted to, take a look around the area, and we were up there, and this was just last September, and we were kind of checking the area out, and we got back down to this road, Trout Gulch Road, and this thing let out a howl for like about 30 seconds. It was crazy. I mean, It sounded like almost exactly like that sound that Shadow Folks has on their Project 3. It's like the second to the last one down, super long. Actually, this guy was filming. He's kind of filming a little documentary, and he had his camera going while the thing was making it scream. But I tell you what, it was something. I don't know what made this noise, but it was loud, and it drowned out the sound of the dogs that were barking up on the ridge.
Well,
this area is in Monterey Bay area.
Yeah, that somebody that has an audio encounter may be more terrifying than if it had a visual, because they don't know what they're dealing with.
Yeah, this was. It was near some power lines also.
Yeah.
Power line cuts that through the mountains.
And something that, as far as I know, has never been recorded that I'd love to have is a roar, and I've heard it up close and personal, and from my backyard, in fact. And that's why I started recording at home, was because I heard that roar. And a lot of people have described it. A lot of them have heard it, but nobody's ever recorded it, because I think that's an aggressive type thing. And
it sounded very aggressive. It sounded very like it was trying to warn us to leave, basically.
Right.
But it was pretty eerie, and Daniel Perez wrote a little write up on it. This was in the Santa Cruz Mountains, right up above Santa Cruz Santa Cruz town.
They're masters at knowing what scare us.
Yeah. Have you ever been out this way?
I was just in California last week.
Oh yeah, up in Northern California.
Yeah, I was in Grass Valley.
Okay. Yeah, I'm from the Monterey Bay area, Santa Cruz County area. So I do all my research up in Santa Cruz in the mountains.
Wow.
And I've been documenting some pretty crazy tree snaps, and X markers, and like these vertical standing X markers. I think they've been getting them up in British Columbia also. Same type of, but I got all kinds of photographs of these things, and pretty crazy.
Very cool.
Yeah, I just thought it was weird that I took these guys up to where I found my tracks a year ago, and this thing sounded off, and it was during the full moon on September 14th.
So did the one guy get it recorded?
Pardon?
Did the one fellow get it recorded?
I think Mike Ruggs might have it recorded. I think.
Okay.
I think they might have abstracted it out of the. This guy was filming, like I said, he was filming when they got it, when the whatever individual made its howling scream. But it lasted for about 15, 20 seconds, and that was like, I don't know any individual that could bellow, and it was very loud too.
Right.
And it sounded just like a siren almost.
Well, looks like we're down to 1 minute.
Okay, well, hey, thanks a lot for your time.
Okay.
All
right, bye-bye.
I'm going to go ahead and take this last caller, but before we finish up, just so that everyone knows, next week we're going to have Jeff Meldrum on the show. That's next Monday at 9 o'clock, so everybody wants to tune in if you want to hear some of Jeff Meldrum's stuff. Let me get area code 760. You're on the air.
Hi, Billy. It's Jaime here in Mammoth Lakes, California. Hi, Stan.
Hi.
Hi. How are things with you guys?
Good.
Hey, I just had a quick question. I just had some. I've been doing some research up here in the Mammoth Lakes area, and has anybody ever talked about them jumping? Or seen them jumping, or have tracks of them jumping?
Oh yeah. There's people that have seen them leap across the road, not.
Is it like a pretty phenomenal jump, or you know?
Right. Okay. They said what it did. It just squatted. It leapt from a squat.
Wow.
It just sprang.
Do you remember? It jumped like clear across the road, or did it go farther?
Right.
Or
no. Yeah. Like 8 feet on each side of it.
Wow, that's a good distance. I just picked up.
I don't remember where I read that.
I was kind of curious because I picked up some tracks when I was tracking a 9-inch bipedal animal, and it seemed to have jumped. It looked like about 20 feet from one side of an embankment to another.
Think if a human athlete, if an Olympian can do that, these Squatches can do anything 10 times better than a human can.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. And I also was just I've been thinking about the hip cup position of where it is anatomically, and if that's advantageous. The trackways I've gotten, they seem to where it looks like the the foot externally rotates a little bit more than humans, and that's kind of one of the markers that I use to make a quick determination if it was a man or if it was something else. People normally are more forward on this. But I see, yeah, we're almost out of time, aren't we? I just got on here a little bit ago. I haven't had a chance to listen to Billy and stuff. I know it's a great show. I just haven't had the opportunity, and I just caught the tail end of this one. But it sounded like a great show, and I'll probably I normally try to listen to it into the archives.
Right. Yeah, there'll be some we're going to lengthen this a little bit. We're not streaming anymore, but I want to get Stan's other sounds in here if I can. Stan, do you have time?
Sure.
Okay. I mean, at least that way people can listen to it on the archive and they'll be able to hear your explanation of the sound. So, thanks for calling in. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, Billy.
Thanks,
Stan. Bye.
Okay.
So we're in archive now, but I want to get these sounds in because you took the time to send them first of all, and I want to get them on. So I'm going to play this next one, Stan, and then you can tell us what we got here. So here we go.
Okay. I can't prove this stuff because I didn't have a night camera running at the time.
Right.
What the background noise is the river. It's water. It's not static or anything.
Right.
But you hear a couple moans, and that's me sleeping, and the microphone's sitting on the mirror on the car.
Right.
And then the noise you hear is the latch on the back door, the back door handle being lifted up a couple times, and then a grunt.
Right.
So I think that was a nighttime visitor.
I heard that grunting noise, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was the back door was being bumped or latched up a couple times. Same campground in Colorado where I heard the Tahoe scream.
Gotcha.
Right.
All right. So that's our explanation on that one. All right, now I'm going to go to this next recording. Here we go. Now, Stan, I'm not no audio expert, but that was one of the strangest. It was almost like I heard two sets of vocal cords in that.
Yeah. It's as far as I know, that was just a plain old simple coyote, but it was such a great recording. It's the closest I'll ever get to one without overpowering the mic. I was just thrilled to death with the recording. I thought I'd throw it in there. And the trick I used to get that was it was a corner of a field where you have a hay field next to a cornfield next to the woods. And I knew if something was going to vocalize, it was going to come to that point.
Right.
But I wasn't looking for a coyote.
that was definitely an interesting.
Yeah.
He was having fun with that vocal.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one. Here we go. Oh, was that it?
Oh. I it's a little more controversial. I went to campground in Montana where my brother had an experience, and then I camped there the summer 2005 with him and recorded giant footsteps in the night there. And I camped there a couple months ago, and I woke up at about 4 o'clock in the morning, could not move. I felt a presence around the car. I couldn't move. Went back to sleep. There wasn't much on the recordings at all, other than that almost sounded like a hoof or a grunt or something there. But what was interesting was about a half hour later, it sounded like something threw a rock and it bounced off my headlights on my car.
Wow.
And DB says, I think they were checking to see if you were asleep. So, I like them to come up and around the car to try to get a recording, but they're just so quiet about it, you don't have much to go on.
Right. Oh, they're definitely sneaky. Sometimes you think they're playing with you. I mean, we've had similar things here in Virginia where it just seems like they'll toss rocks or something and they just want you to hear it. They just want to see. I think they want to see your reaction or something.
Right. And this and that's on my website too. But the ping on that headlight was like my wife says, well, that's not a windshield. That's not your side window. The only thing it can be is your headlight. Well, deer and bear don't throw rocks at my headlight.
No.
And I try to only suggest maybe something Squatch related is if I'm in an area that's had known activity.
Right. All right, we're going to go to this last recording, and here we go.
But you think it was? I don't think it was, no. It's from over here. I don't know what's over there. I think it's this one. Clean it up. You think that's a clean or not? I think it's loud enough to be. I don't think it's long enough. Long enough, yeah.
Now that were you guys near any other houses? Where were you at on that one?
Well, there was a house, but not the direction the sound was coming from. But I don't know if you could tell on there that sounded like my voice. That return call did.
Yeah, It did sort of sound like your voice, but obviously it wasn't. Not from where it was coming from.
Right. Yeah, it was 45 seconds from the. We did it 3 times, and only on the second call did it return, and it did 3 returns, and then each one was at a higher pitch. Like,
right.
I guess when you go up a higher pitch, it makes it carry better.
Right.
And it was after midnight, and we didn't have time to hang around. I didn't want to hang around anyway.
Right. Right. Well, Stan, I really appreciate you sending those sounds. I always love listening to audio recordings and actually just hearing some of the things that people are hearing in other places. I appreciate you agreeing to come on the show and bringing those so that we can all hear them.
Yeah, well, I'm always striving for better quality sounds, but they're slow coming.
Yeah, I've never gotten anything that good. You always have the good stuff.
Wow.
So, well, thanks so much, Stan. We really appreciate it. I hope I didn't take too much of your time.
Oh, no.
Ran over. And thank you so much for coming on. And hopefully you'll, if you get some more good stuff, we certainly want to have you back on the show, and we can do this all over again.
Okay, well, I hope to get something new.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Stan, for coming on the show, and we really appreciate it, and be careful down there.
Okay, thanks, Billy.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
And everyone, next Monday, as we said before, we'll have Jeffrey Meldrum. Dr. Meldrum will be on the air next week, next Monday night at 9 o'clock p.m., so everyone tune in for that. And thanks, everyone, for listening to the show tonight. Appreciate each and every one of you. And everyone, please have a great and wonderful night. And, of course, everybody, don't forget to vote.